Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing the female reproductive system, the physiology of the female reproductive system, and my main bibliography for this is going to be Boron Medical Physiology, which on my view is one of the best, if not the best, physiology book out there. Okay, so let's get started. First, we're going to begin with an introduction and we're going to review the functions of this system. Now, the first function that I want to review is that this system produces haploid gametes. Gametes, or in other words, ova, which is the plural word for ovum, right? Now, something that I like to do is to also review the medical terminology. So what is haploid? Haploid means that it only has one complete set of chromosomes. In this case, the only cells in our body that are haploid are the sperm and the eggs, right? Now, on the other hand, the term diploid means that has two sets of chromosomes, right? One from the father and one from the mother, which is for the rest of our cells. So that's one of the first functions. It also syngamy. Facilitates syngamy. What is syngamy is the same as fertilization. So it facilitates fertilization between the ovum and the spermatozoon. What I get from this is that it provides the environment for the spermatozoon to reach the ovum and for the ovum to meet the spermatozoon at a certain point in the system. Next, now that we have a fertilized egg, right? The next step is the implantation. So it supplies a site for implantation of the embryo. And once the implantation has occurred, then there is the establishment of pregnancy. So fertilization, then it follows implantation, which is give us the site for implantation, and finally the establishment of pregnancy. Now, while the fetus is developing, it needs nutrients. So it also provides the physical environment and the nutritional needs of the developing fetus and its timely birth. So it makes sure that the embryo is born in a timely period. And last, it nurtures the neonate. Yes, it nurtures the neonate. How? How is that possible? Well, it does it uh, through the mammary glands that we will see later on. Yes? Okay, so let's continue. Those are the general functions of the female reproductive system. Let's also make a quick review of the anatomy of the female reproductive system. The main components of the system are the gonads. The gonads are the ovaries. Let's remember that the ovaries produce the ova and hormones. Very important. Let me also get the pointer here. So in this case, the gonads or ovaries right here. Yeah. Next, the fallopian tubes, which are these structures right here. The fallopian tubes. You can see that the fallopian tubes also has different important structures such as the fimbria, the infundibulum, right, etc. Then the uterus, which is all this structure right here, and the cervix, which is this one. The uterus is the structure that is going to allow implantation and also is going to allow the fetal development, right? And the cervix, which is, you know, like the part where the newborn is going to go through. Also, we have this one right here, the va, right? Which is the birth canal, and it's also the copulatory organ. And we also have the external genitalia, which is protective and is also gives or provides sensory functions as well. And finally, the mammary glands. The mammary glands, which are important for the nourishment for the neonate, which are not in on this picture here. And the last thing I'm gonna be talking about is the hormonal regulation. The system right here, the female reproductive system, is controlled by hormones. Is controlled by hormones. And these hormones are produced in three different organs: hypothalamus, anterior pituitary, and ovaries. So these three produces hormones, and these hormones control the female reproductive system. There are two main hormones that are the ones that control this system, and those two are the estrogens, mainly estradiol, and progesterone. What they do is that they regulate the growth and function of the female sex accessory structures, number one, and the development of secondary sexual characteristics. Again, what they do is that they regulate the growth and function of the female sex accessory structures and the development of the secondary sexual characteristics. Yes? Now, although these are the main two produced by the ovaries, there is an axis, there is a regulation from superior centers. In this case, there is the axis called the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. So, what that means is that the hypothalamus has control over the anterior pituitary, and the anterior pituitary has control over the ovaries, and they all have control with one another. So they all work together. They have a fine control. They work together over the um, female reproductive system. There is always even control of higher centers. So not only the axis, but also there are higher centers that have some influence over this axis. Now, what is the whole, or what is the ultimate function? Well, it is the cyclic production of gametes and the preparation of the sex accessory organs for the establishment of pregnancies. So they all work together for the pregnancies to be established. And so that this happens in a cyclic manner. Every month it has to be the same. So they all have to work together, the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary, and the ovaries, and even superior higher centers and the brain to make this happen, to make the cycles happen. All right, so thus we have finished the introduction to the female reproductive system by boron medical physiology.